I shot for the MLB. But I am not professional in the technical sense of the word. I learned from YouTube, bro. I don't belong anywhere near here. I shoot cars and stereotypical Sony dark night shots. So being out there on the field with this badge that could get me literally in anywhere is not the most important part of this story. The important part is how I faked it into being an MLB photographer, and how you can totally do it too. And here are the 4 steps to get on the big stage while being underqualified, YouTube trained, wannabe professional photographer 2025. Unabridged, illustrated, revised. Yes. Oftentimes, it's not about how good you are at this one thing, but rather who knows that you do that thing. Before we get into the cool photos and how I missed the most important shot of MLB All-Star Weekend and got called out for it, you all are all assuming the same thing. How did you actually get here? It was just a text from an old coworker and friend. Follow along, shall we? Hey, are you available to shoot in Dallas? Now look, I didn't even know what the shoot was or if I could even execute it, but I said this anyway. Yeah, dude, sure can. Tell me the details. Can you shoot some cool videos and photos of Captain, the Texas Rangers mascot? Yeah, man, but just to let you know, I have never done that before. Now listen to the most important part of this text. I have been following your artistic journey for years. I know you can handle it. And just like that, we're off to All-Star Weekend 2024. No, this text actually took place an entire year before. We're in 2023. I made a video about this experience and it completely flopped. But if you can take anything away from this, it's this. Let people know that you do blank. And I really mean this, like share your art, post it. Doesn't matter if it gets likes or if it gets engagement or not, just even if the colors are weak or if the composition is bad, tell your family that you are in fact a photographer. Just post what you are doing. Let people know this is what I do. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else? You probably see it all the time. People will just hit up whoever they know off the top of their head just because familiarity is a little bit more important than the actual skill set. I see this all the time in my family. I don't ever ask my mom, just like, hey, do you know somebody who does the best tile work? No. I just say, do we know anyone who does tile? And he shows up. So right now, I would encourage you to do these 3 things. Go to your family group chat, or your significant other, or your little group text that you have with your boys, and text this. Hey, I'm serious about my photography and filmmaking this year. Can you give me some opportunities to shoot, or tell me about some people that you may know that could use my services? Number 2, say this to yourself, and if you're looking in the mirror, you get bonus points. I am and will be a professional. And number 3, and we're off to the races, go and practice your craft the right way. Because one day, people will notice and they'll say, MLB All-Star Weekend 2024, are you available? Every time. Now, when I walked into these venues, people could tell that I was a photographer. But what they didn't see was me going into Harbor Freight trying to figure out how I can like rig some kind of gimbal holder thingy. People probably saw random lenses on my cameras, but what they didn't see was me all nervous because I didn't have a 70 to 200 millimeter lens, and I didn't have the money to afford one either. So I had to make do with what I had. People probably saw me on the phone thinking, oh man, he must have a really chill job, just take some photos and then you just keep going, and it was like really laid back, chill gig, right? But what they didn't know was that I was responsible for shooting photo and video and stories all at the same time. What I'm trying to say is that you need to practice in private and perform in public. Dude, it is so embarrassing to be fumbling with your lenses in front of everybody. Now, I would suggest that you truly prepare for your shoots. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid or not. I remember my dad would always tell me, it doesn't matter how many people are in the crowd. You bring your best and do it as if you're doing it unto God, period. So here are some great ways to prepare. Number 1, consume a lot of content and take notes on it. You're gonna shoot cars for Lamborghini or Ferrari, then look up every single YouTuber that you know that takes the best car photos and write down what they're doing. Go to Instagram, look up cars, and just reverse engineer what they are doing. Break it down. If you want it in a one-liner, consume to steal, not to enjoy. Hey man, we got bars all over the place already. Number 2 is to get your fail-safe. What I mean by that is to take screenshots of the stuff that you really like and keep them on your phone or in one centralized place. You don't want to be fumbling going to Instagram and then to Pinterest and then to your photo library. Just have it all in one place so that if you blank or freeze on a shoot, you know that you can reach for that and you can copy something that somebody else has already done. That right there is your safety net or a fail-safe. One of the wisest men on the planet said, "You got to visualize the win, Jesse. You
visualize the win. Hey, visualize the win, Jesse. Serious."
I think it was Tupac. It may sound silly, but visualize your process and your gear as if you were there already. For example, I went online and watched MLB All-Star Weekend videos and I was just scanning for all of the photographers that were out there. I would look at YouTubers that would shoot MLB or if they were vlogging their day in their life. And so as I'm watching these videos, I am asking myself, what lenses are they using? Why those? Where can I stand and where can I not? Will my batteries last that long? What color temperature are those lobby lights in the background? You see, what you need to do is just place yourself into the shoes of wherever you're going to be so that you can be prepared in advance.
So one of the things I always like to do is go to the area and then always assess what it is. I need to know what white balance is going on out here. It's outside, but the worst thing, as you can see, like sun is like really harsh right now. And then I also go into the indoor areas where they're going to be, just in case, so I can measure what the white balance is.
So I opted to have 2 camera bodies on me, one with the telephoto lens and one with a wider lens. Here are those lenses for those of you who are interested. Now the reason for this was intentional. These mascots are literally outside in the heat for 15 minutes at a time, and then they rush back into the places where there is some nice AC. Now even though they're out there only for a few minutes, it's my responsibility to make it seem like they were, and I quote my client, doing the most while they're out there. Definition, make it seem like they were out there longer and doing more stuff than what they were doing in real life.
So what does that mean? It means putting this bad boy in 60 frames per second.
Now the next tip is probably the most important thing that I did without even realizing it. You see, on day 1, we had to go to this like inaugural baseball field thingy. And most importantly, it was televised. So this is what I did immediately. I switched my cameras into silent shooting mode, switched to my telephoto camera, stood right next to all the TV guys. I pressed the record button only once and didn't stop recording for the whole thing. Now, some of you smart people probably already figured it out, but for those of you who didn't, let me break it down. You switch to silent mode so that your camera is not being picked up by all the microphones that are around you. Switch to telephoto cam because you can't get that close. You can't be on camera. When in doubt, always stand next to the camera guys because they're the ones that are in the safe zone. They will never be seen by the camera because they're right next to it. And lastly, I only pressed the record button one time so that if I needed to do something in the edit where maybe I grabbed like the actual televised portion of it and then made some kind of transition with it, I could easily just sync them up in post and not have to deal with the headache. All of these things I knew not because I'm a professional, but rather I've just shot behind the scenes for other people before, and that's what you have to do. One thing you should know about these events is that you don't know where you're going to be. They be changing and going to so many different locations. You're never just in one spot on these events. Now later on that day, we went to this like Make-A-Wish. That lighting is terrible. I'm backlit. So later on that day, we went to this like Make-A-Wish event type of thing, and the lighting in there was absolute garbage. It was like 3000 Kelvin tungsten inside, and then they had these massive windows that were bringing in like 5600 Kelvin light, and it was so bad with these mixtures of color temperatures. Now remember, we're going in and we are just leaving, so there's no time to set up lights. Looking back, I should have had a flash on my camera, but I didn't know what I was getting myself into. So, noted for next time. But I knew what to do, and it was to change the color temperature to be midway between those two color temperatures. And the only reason I knew that is because I knew what to do at live events. I've shot things where you don't have time to light anything, and several projects where I can't control any of the lighting. Moral of the story, man, is you got to be a well-rounded shooter. People would ask me, hey, do you do food photography? On the inside, I was like, heck no, dude, I've never done that before. So I would say yes, and then just go through all the steps that I already told you. Then they would ask, hey, do you shoot cars? And I would say, no, but I can learn. Then they would ask me, hey, do you do headshots? And I would say, no, I've never done that, but I'll do it. And then people would ask, hey, do you do weddings? And I sit there and be like, dude, I've never done a wedding before in my life, but I've done headshots, I've done portraits, I've shot cars, I've had to adapt to different events. So whatever you throw at me, I think I'll be ready. I say all this just to tell you to expose yourself to as many types of photography or filmmaking that you can. Act like you in Costco or Sam's or these big bulk places and go and get yourself some samples. I don't even know if they do that anymore. Am I old? I probably just showed my age, didn't I? But get yourself some samples so that you can be well-rounded, and then you can start specializing. Now on this weekend, there was a lot of fun times. There was some downtime as well. We went to the Home Run Derby and Kirk Franklin did like the national anthem, which was interesting immediately.
He made a career off of ad-libs, yeah. But I was like, what are you supposed to do on Osa? He's like, for the lit. It's like,
The next day we had to shoot like the home run derby for the mascots. The thing that was crazy about this entire event is that in the agreement, they requested that they could have same day turnaround for stuff that was happening that day. So that means that later on in the day when we went to the MLB draft, when everyone was just chilling, I was in the stands editing all of those photos. Now, what I just said sounds really simple, but there was a lot of gear that went into that single statement. You had to have a good computer, you had to have the editing software, memory cards, cameras, card readers, any other accessories, and way more. So number 3 is invest in yourself. Dude, I'm gonna be a little on my soapbox for a quick second. I hate when people say that gear doesn't matter. That is complete booty. Gear matters and it makes things so much more convenient. Doesn't mean you can't do it with cheap gear. We see it all the time. But in some cases, it is a necessity. Luckily for me, I had access to a lot of areas that your typical photographers on site didn't have access to. However, if I was working alongside them, dude, I wouldn't even have the gear to be able to keep up with them. Like all these guys are sitting in the back on this little stage and they have all these really expensive pieces of glass. I felt like that meme where it says the guy that she says not to worry about and then you. That's how I felt with my little pieces of gear standing next to all these guys. If you don't invest in yourself, do not expect anyone else to. You don't have to splurge, you don't have to go crazy with it, but you do have to invest in yourself with some good gear. Marry your lenses, date your bodies. Should put that on a t-shirt. And step 4 is to execute. And now it was time for the main event of this entire thing, the red carpet. It was like this really fancy carpet that was red. Truth is, by this day, I was exhausted. I think it was like day 4. I needed more Red Bull. There had been a lot of long days of shooting and like quick turnarounds and edits, and I was getting like creatively gassed. Long story short, in true Mexican fashion, we are running late.
everything is moving stupid fast right now. So I don't even have time, bro.
Everything that I could get, I grabbed it as fast as I could and I was out the door.
Here we go. Red carpet time.
So I'm following behind Captain and I get to this like door. There's this like security usher chick person that says, hey, you can't go past here. And then I said, hey, wait, I'm with him. And as soon as I said I'm with him, Captain just takes off. And I'm like, great. There is nobody here to validate that I'm supposed to be here. She says, I see that you're a photographer, so you gotta go and be in the photography section.
But all the handlers and everybody's like literally inside, but they don't let me in. So basically gotta make do with what I have right now, which sucks.
Mind you, the photography section is like way back in the corner with the people that are shooting the 7200, 100 to 500 millimeter type of, I don't have that kind of stuff. I gotta get onto the red carpet. So I'm going around looking to see if there's an opening on how I can get onto that carpet. Then I see two things. I see security guards in the corner of my eye and I see an opening. It's now or never. So I walk in right through that gate's opening and act like I own the place. What else could possibly go wrong? So anyway, I start shooting, everything's going good. I grab my video camera and I look to the viewfinder and I see all black and I'm just like, oh, must have a lens cap on. So I grab my camera to try and take off the lens cap and sure enough, there is no lens to take a lens cap off of.
I was so much in a rush. I didn't even put a lens on this thing. So it looks like just got to adapt.
Now remember, this is crucial. The client already told me critically that there is a shot that I need to get while he's on the red carpet, both video and photo. So thinking on my toes, I said, all right.
Basically, we're going with the A7 IV. We're gonna shoot some video on that thing. I can deal with the crop since I'm on a 14 to 24. So we should be all right.
One camera, video, and photo, switching back and forth. Big brain moves, baby. Big brain. No one's gonna know that anything went wrong on this red carpet. So then some of the mascot handlers were like, hey, we're already done, let's head back. So I'm about to stop recording on my camera, and as soon as I press the button, it says, recording, and it starts counting up from 0, 1, 2. This entire time that I was recording, when I thought I was recording, I wasn't recording. And when I was recording, my camera was pointed down to the ground as I'm walking to the next location. this thing was not keeping up in terms of recording and photoing back and forth. And so it was just kind of freaking out. So I didn't even get good clips. So we'll see how we make that work in the edit. So what am I supposed to do?
But I just had this idea because the recap for the reel, as far as video is concerned, it's not just video, it's actually photo and video. My plan is to basically use this to my advantage, basically just make like flashes like there were photos. So I'm just gonna just put some photos on there and you're still gonna capture the idea. I'm not worried anymore.
I told you this whole story so that you can know number 4 and you never forget it. So we go back to the locker room and like the client called me over and he shows me a picture on his iPhone that wasn't mine. Like I didn't take that photo. He said, I want a picture like this. And I was like, and I said, hey, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't get that shot. And he was like, well, where were you? I was like, well, I got stuck behind security or whatever. And then I had to make my way around. And by the time I got there, you had already passed through. So like you weren't there anymore. And sorry, man, it's completely, it's my fault. And he said, oh no, man, I know you got great shots already. I'm talking about for next year. I want a shot like this. That was a really big moment for me. You see, no one ever told me you are a pro. No one ever told me, hey, you're ready to take on clients. And no one ever said, Joseph, you need to charge more. And I'm telling you this is that no one is going to say the same things to you either. No one is going to tell you that you're ready to shoot clients. No one's going to tell you that you're ready to shoot for the MLB. No one's going to tell you that you're ready to do this and to do that. No one's going to tell you. You're just going to have to grow into it. And then you're going to realize, dang, these shoes are too small for me. I got to do something different. In my opinion, there is a threshold of being just good enough in your skill set. And then everything else is more important than just your skill set. Skills are cool. But the way that you treat people and how responsible you are and what your process looks like and how easy it is to work with you and like, is it a good time and do people enjoy being around you? Like all of these things tend to be more important than your skill set once you arrive. I'm not saying to be delusional about your skill set, but what I am saying is that you need to grow into it and fake it until you make it.